podcast.
All right. What's up, Fight Bros podcast listeners? We're coming at you today with Fight Bros MMA show number 64. Got a great guest for you today. She's been on here before with me. She's got a fight coming up November 2nd at Ultimate Battlegrounds in Eden, North Carolina. So I want to thank you for coming on today. We got Gracie Killer Grecco. Thank you for coming on, Gracie.
Thank you.
So since I last talked to you, you were fighting at Titans of the Cage, and since then you've had a few injuries and had some time off. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how you've been staying active during that time off?
So I did a couple of grappling tournaments. Some of them were super fights. There was one end of August that was like the brackets for New Breed. And my very last match of the day, the girl cranked an arm bar. Like, instead of just bucking up slowly, she like threw her hips as hard as she could, and it almost broke my arm. So I was out for a little while, and it's still acting up, but it's getting better. I don't really take breaks a whole lot, so I can still go to the gym whether I'm hurt or not.
There you go. Now, in a tournament like that, is that kind of adequate for somebody to pull back on that, or is it
so you're supposed to like lock it down and then raise your hips slowly, and then she didn't lock it down, and I probably would have gotten out, but she just bucked her hips as hard as she could, so it hyperextended my arm the wrong way.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Have you been doing any physical therapy or anything on that?
A little bit. I got some people that help me out.
Good. Now, so typically, for our listeners that don't know, especially, folks with the amateurs, they're not fighting, every weekend, every 2 weeks. Is this traditionally how, most fighters stay active by, taking jiu-jitsu tournaments, wrestling tournaments, different things like that?
That's how I stay active, or I try to. It doesn't always work out that way. I still go to the gym regularly, like every week, whether I have something coming up or not. But yeah, I try to, in between fights, do jiu-jitsu tournaments or something.
Good.
Yeah.
Now I follow you on Instagram, and it definitely looks like you're fit and ready to go. I'm a strength and conditioning guy for my profession. So can you tell me a little bit about your strength and conditioning program that you're doing in between fights that's keeping you ready?
So I got a guy, Clint Summerlin. He works for NC Reps in Eden, and he helps design programs for me. So I just go there. He shows me the program, and I just do it. Whatever he says goes.
Hey, there you go. That makes it convenient.
He's good about working around my injuries too. So if I tell him something's wrong, like I had a shoulder injury and now I got the elbow injury, so he'll work around that and try to figure out what's tweaking it and just work around and figure something else out until it's better.
Excellent. So your next fight's at featherweight, staying with the topic of strength and conditioning, is featherweight something, you have to kind of bulk up to with your strength and conditioning, or is it something you're, got a weight cut for?
I walk around at like 140-ish most of the time. I was having to bulk up for this fight because I was supposed to fight at 145, and plans got changed like 3 days ago. So now I'm cutting to 135. But yeah, sometimes I cut, sometimes I stay where I am.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So your original bout, and I just seen this last night, so this is fresh news for our interview. So your original bout was a featherweight matchup on November 2nd against Abby Worrell. Now you'll be facing Rachel Beauchamp. What happened to the initial fight?
So I've trained with her before, so we're kind of friends. She messaged me and said that she was having a couple of health issues, I think where she had a baby a year ago. She just hasn't recovered fully. It was some high blood pressure thing. I don't want to give away all of her information, but something with high blood pressure, and the doctor wouldn't let her fight. So yeah.
Now you've been preparing for Abby, and me and you had talked a while back, talking about how you had this fight coming up in November 2nd. Now you're taking a short notice fight against Rachel Beauchamp. Now you all have trained together before.
Right.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So she started coming to my gym, I think back in May, and she stayed there for a couple months. She kind of like bounced around for a couple gyms. I guess just trying to see what was a good fit for her. Um, but she trains like right around the corner from my gym now, so we'll spar together sometimes. We still see each other. No hard feelings. Like we were actually talking about setting up a fight the day that Abby dropped out. We were talking about fighting each other on the next card. So yeah, she just jumped in. No hard feelings.
Yeah, so it seems like you all are would you say close to teammates essentially with your training, or?
Yeah, I consider her a teammate just because like we don't currently train at the same gym now. We cross train a little bit, but she for a little while was training at my gym. So yeah, I would consider her a teammate.
Okay, excellent. Now, walk us through this. So essentially, is it pretty hard to get a fight booked sometimes, just finding opponents?
Yes, it
Uh,
is.
so
I think especially for female fighters because
okay.
they're more willing to get hit in the face than women are. So it's really hard, especially in your weight class, to find somebody that's an even matchup.
So is it normal through your fighting career that would you say you've fought people that you've trained with before?
Um, I think I've definitely rolled in jiu-jitsu tournaments with some teammates. I think this is the first fight where I considered her a teammate. I had a fight a little over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, where I had known the girl, so I considered her a friend, but we weren't teammates. Um, so yeah, but this is the first teammate I think that I've had.
Okay. No, I mean, I know you fought for Titans of the Cage, and I know, just being involved with that promotion, that seems like a regular thing. I feel like a lot of people from ring combat sports, they just have a tough time finding fights. Sometimes they end up fighting their teammates, just, get the
Yeah.
experience on a bigger stage than in the gym together.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of a lot of other people, like guys that I've trained with, have had to fight guys that they already fought or knew or trained with at a different gym. So it's pretty common, I think.
Good. So, where y'all are teammates, I'm assuming, you're gonna you're not gonna talk about those training sessions, right? Y'all keep that a secret until fight night.
I mean, we had already agreed, like, we're still going to spar with each other because we were already planning on spar. She wanted to spar with me so that I could prepare for Abby. So it's like, would it still be weird? And she said no. So
Oh, so you're saying y'all are still gonna spar with each other in the gym to prepare for y'all's fight against each other.
yeah,
Hey, well, I like it. I mean,
that'll be a first for me for sure. But
that is a little different, but MMA, this sport's all about respect, so I can definitely see where there's some respect there.
yeah.
As you're talking about her. Um, so you're taking this fight on short notice as you've been preparing for Abby Whirl. I know that happens sometimes. You're taking this fight on what, three-ish weeks?
Yeah.
Um, walk me through that. Is it a similar training camp?
Um, yeah, I don't think much will change. I was definitely working on some specific things for Abby, and Rachel's got a different style than Abby does. But I mean, in the end, it's all the same goal. Like, I still have my idea of how the fight's gonna go in my mind for both opponents. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Now looking up a little bit of background on your opponent, I did realize she's fought in Titans of the Cage before. Um, Now, she only had 3 fights under her belt. Do you think that will be, a factor on fight night in terms of your experience?
It has been in the past. Like, I fought a girl that she had had 0 fights under her belt, but she was a black belt, and she'd never done stand up before though, and she came in thinking she was gonna knock me out, beat me up just because she had this title on her. But there is definitely a difference experience wise in the cage. Um, so I mean, still 50-50 chance. You never know what's gonna happen, but yeah, there's definitely an experience factor, I think.
Now, I've known you so far from fighting in Titans of the Cage. How did you get hooked up with Ultimate Battlegrounds in North Carolina?
So they were, I guess they're friends with an old gym that I used to train at. So I fought from that gym, I think a couple of times for Ultimate Battlegrounds, just underneath that gym. And then I haven't fought for them, I don't think, since I left there about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. They had messaged me a couple times and things just fell through. So this is my first fight back with them since I left that gym.
Okay.
But that's how I got hooked up with them. I knew them through that gym.
And you're out in North Carolina, right? So this is
Yeah.
pretty close for you in terms of fights.
Yeah, it's like 15 minutes from my house. So
Hey, that's nice.
excited for the hometown fight.
um, so, fight night, November 2nd. You and your opponent have worked together before. Do you have an official prediction? Maybe you don't even have to say it. Maybe you got a way in your head that you think you're going to finish it. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely have a prediction. So, like you said, I don't want to say it, but
Hey,
I don't want to come across as talking bad or anything. But yeah, I have a prediction.
yeah. Um, so, I like to ask some fun questions with the fighters as well after we get done talking about, the task that you have at hand on November 2nd. So some fun questions for you. I know last time we talked, you said you keep up with the sport a little bit outside of fighting. And so we've kind of got a celebrity fight coming up, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Have you been interested into that or keeping up with it at all?
I was kind of interested when they first announced it, like it was beginning of this year. They've been planning it. Um, I feel like it's just a publicity stunt, honestly, because it keeps getting pushed back. But if it is real, I think Mike Tyson would win, like regardless of his age.
Yeah.
It's Mike Tyson. Like I don't think Jake Paul has a chance.
So that's what I was going to ask you. I work with, at my job, I work at a retirement community. So the average age of people that I train for fitness and we do boxing classes and stuff is like late 60s to early 80s. So I'm always a big proponent that, hey, man, age isn't a thing. Now, I know this is combat sports, but I mean, 58 years old, he's looking good in training. Do you think, on fight night that age is gonna, come in there with a young 27-year-old Jake Paul that's been knocking a lot of people out? I mean, MMA fighters that he's knocking out, I mean, even though they're not boxers, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, it is impressive for Jake Paul. And he's definitely got a lot of guts to want to go up against somebody like Mike Tyson. But again, I think it's an experience factor where Mike Tyson's been doing it since before Jake was born, probably. Of course, there is that chance that if Jake manages to get that one hit in, but also Mike Tyson's a lot stronger, I think. So I guess it's whoever hits that knockout punch first.
Yeah. Hey, well, I think me and you both were rooting for Mike Tyson. So,
Yeah. I mean, you can't not root for Mike Tyson.
yeah, and a big thing too, I like how I feel like just for the common people, I mean, this is on Netflix. You ain't got to pay like 80 some bucks for it, like a UFC pay-per-view, Um, so this is another fun one I had, and kind of going to what we was talking about before. You said on the amateur level, it's kind of hard sometimes for women to find fights. So UFC and other MMA promotions have really been pushing women and putting them more in the spotlight. So it seems like in UFC now we've got Amanda Nunes that retired. But I don't know if you've been keeping up with this, but Kayla Harrison, she's in the UFC now and she's looking real good. Based off that last pay-per-view, you have Pena, who is now the champ. Would you like to see Kayla Harrison or Amanda Nunes face Pena, as this kind of, like I said, we're getting a good push. UFC's pushing these women at this point.
Yeah. I don't really know Pena that much. I only keep up with it once in a while, like if I'm not working and I happen to catch it. I am a fan of Amanda Nunes, so she's one of my favorites in there. Um, so like if they were to face off, I would definitely root for her. Kayla Harrison, she's just a little bit scary, like to me. I don't think I'd want to face her. Um, but yeah, there is always that little freak chance that something could happen, but I feel like Kayla would come out on top.
All right. So last couple of fun questions here. So I'm a music guy. I love music. So I gotta ask you this, what are you listening to right now during your training to keep you motivated?
Um, it varies sometimes. Me and my one coach, he's like the only coach I've ever had that we agreed that we both like Nickelback. So if it's just us there sparring or working pads or something, we'll just play Nickelback because we both like it. So that'll get me pumped up sometimes.
Hey, I
Um,
like it.
yeah.
Um, Now, this is a question I like to ask, and I've asked you this before, November 2nd, you step in that octagon versus your opponent, first time somebody's seeing you. What impact do you want to have on that viewer watching you that night and for them to walk out of there and say, uh, Gracie Grecco, the killer, she left this impact on me, when I'm leaving that night.
I think win or lose, I'd like people to see like my dedication and sportsmanship towards it. My one coach and like personally and him have always said, make sure you stay classy and professional. Obviously, like no trash talk before the fights. Like we do it a little bit in the gym, but it doesn't go out on media or anything like that. So I like people to just see that nice like sportsmanship side to everything. Because I don't like it when people start bringing all the trash talk in and like they act like they hate each other just for publicity. Like I don't really think that's a good way to view the sport. Um, yeah. So I guess just that sportsmanship, win or lose, I'd like them to see like my hard work put into it. Like the last fight, I think I lost by like 1 point. Um, but I still, like a lot of people said, like, oh, you could have won that if you'd done this differently. Like, still a lot of hard work. Obviously, she was a good fighter too. So,
Yeah. And I mean, with those, close losses like that, are you just looking as like, hey, that wasn't, necessarily, I'm not looking at that as like, a hard loss. I'm looking at that as like, hey, I learned some things I can get better on.
I definitely learned some things. It took a few weeks. Like, I was pretty disappointed and I took it hard for a little while. But once you get past that point, then you start looking at um, what you could have changed and do better and stuff like that. I was having a rough time with my shoulder during that fight. So I think if that wasn't a factor, I probably could have done better. So yeah, I'm working on getting that better and critiquing a few little techniques.
Hey, I see. Now, this last part of the podcast here, I want to leave the floor to you. Give shout outs to your coaches, any of your training partners, anybody who's helping you get in that right mind and getting you ready for November 2nd.
Okay. I guess first would be anybody at Greensboro Jiu Jitsu, Herman Madison, Alan Jackson, all my teammates. They've all been really helpful and supportive. Bubba Blizzard, he's always been there for me. Like since day one, he's had my back. Um, my family is pretty supportive. I don't think mom's ever missed a fight. Um, Maybe one or two grappling matches, but she's usually at those two. So yeah, my mom, dad, sister, brother-in-law when he makes it. Um, I've got some close teammates and friends that have been really supportive, especially this past year. Um, I'm sure there's more people I'm forgetting.
Hey, no, I like it. That sounds like you got some real good support behind you.
Yeah.
So, Fight Bros listeners, if you want to follow Gracie, heading into her fight, I'll have her socials posted on here. You can follow her on Instagram and keep up with her fight. Viewers, you won't want to miss this. November 2nd at Ultimate Battlegrounds in Eden, North Carolina at the Eden Venture Park. You'll want to come watch Gracie fight. I believe you've been posting online too, right? You can watch it online.
Yeah, there should be a pay-per-view. I don't know if it's up yet, but it should definitely be up the week of the fight, I think.
Okay, so yeah, definitely follow Gracie on her Instagram. I've seen she's been um, posting those links where you can definitely watch that. Gracie, I want to thank you so much for coming on again today. It was great talking with you and catching up, and I want to wish you best of luck on November 2nd.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll end this out and then we'll
Okay.
stop this recording.
Thanks for listening to the Fight Bros podcast. If you like what you heard today, like us on Facebook and like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Thanks for all your support.